US is a really stressful process, and that's something. Can you hear me? Okay. And that's something that everyone on our team has experienced. So we were talking to one such person who moved to the US, whose name is Jose. In his first year, he applied to 7 out of the 8 credit cards that he applied to. He was rejected from them. So we took a deeper dive into the pain points that he faced, and we boiled it down to 3 main issues. The first was that there was a lack of, he had a lack of knowledge about the new financial system. So he actually, when he moved to the US, he uses international credit card because it had a larger limit. And he also used cash instead of trying to build a credit card over here and build a credit score. Additionally, there was a lack of guaranteed support and advice that he was given. He turned to his friends who offered inconsistent advice which wasn't suited to his financial situation. Also, when he moved to the US, he had a limited amount of time to set up his finances. He only had a month, and so that led him to settle for less than optimum interest rates. So we were brainstorming on how can we improve the relocation process so we can make immigrants like Jose and other people who move to the US feel more welcome. And we came up with MyFinStory. We have 3 main goals. So our first goal is to educate people who move to the US about the financial system. Second, we are planning on giving them actionable advice which they can use to build sound financial habits, and this would lead to a good credit score. And finally, we would also connect these users to local lenders so they can find the best interest rate for their credit score. And this will help to make the process more stress-free.
So from a very high level, the product is going to have 3 phases. First is the orientation phase, where we're getting to know the user so that we can recommend them financial resources for their present needs and their future needs. And we're going to do this by getting some non-sensitive data from a questionnaire. The second phase is the credit score growth strategy. And here we're improving the financial habits through applications in the form of actionable and educational tasks. Like, for example, here you have a task of it's saying you go approaching 40% of your credit limit, pay your bill now. And the second is through education. So we're trying to predict what education resources they're going to need before they actually have the need. And lastly, we're going to connect users to lenders so that they can get the best deal in their geographic area or wherever, so that they can really succeed in this financial system. So the 3 main revenue streams right now that we're looking at are a premium model, which is a flat rate per month per user. Second is, which is the more important one, is the enterprise model, which we're going to partner up with companies, and they're also going to be a channel distributor for us. And the third is through advertisements. In the later phase, we're going to look at referrals and different analytical models as a service.
So we have a large market opportunity. There are a lot of underbanked people in the US. And so that, if we assume that each person pays $10 a month, then it's 489 million. But right now we're focusing on people who move to the US for work and also for education, since they have the most immediate need. So we have a current market size of about 5.4 million.
So how are we different? Two main areas. First, education through applications. So this is essentially the difference between learning how to play a piano by just reading about it than actually playing the piano and learning through that. And the second is personalized experience. So moving is one of the most stressful times in people's life, and they're in the most vulnerable place. So we want to play the part of a friend helping out them figuring out their financials. So we, based on our revenue model right now, we have some assumptions. We're expecting a 7% churn rate in our users, and out of our total users, we're expecting 3% to be paid. Take that into consideration. That's our 5-year forecast, and we're breaking even in the 2nd year, and our eventual, by 2024, we're going to hope to get it even on $500.
So our timeline is we're planning on launching our MVP, our minimum viable product, in February of 2020. We'll be using this to gain a lot of, to validate our business model and also to get customer feedback, which we'll use to iterate our product. And we're planning on launching our enterprise model in 2021, and then afterwards we'll be launching the analytics as a service model. And so our funding requirements, the primary amount, our primary sources of where we're going to be allocating our capital is towards developing the software and also towards operations, sales, and marketing, and then you'll also need capital towards hosting our service on the server. And we'd like to open the floor to any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, down here with Tony.
Hey guys, really nice presentation, you guys put a lot of thought into this. The only thing that comes to my mind is I struggle to see how this is a commercially viable idea, given what we're presenting now. It's just education. There's a lot of education out there, there's a lot of information. But this, to me, looks like something that could be a nice office where we can get grant money, focus strictly on refugees and immigrants, and like, I don't know, but tell me, why would you want to pay for this now? Why would I pay you money to just give me better education when I can look for it online for free? And if I go to the credit cards, they already have people there educate online, those credit, they use credit agencies themselves, they have files where they monitor your credit, they give you advice, so why would someone pay you for it?
So we talked to different potential users and partners, and some feedback we received are that banks also are always wanting to get more financially literate customers as well. Oftentimes, people when they come to a bank asking for a loan, they don't really have the best they don't really have the best idea of how the system works, and so this could be a way for banks to actually increase the amount of users who would not default on their loans, and also that could help with their customer retention and acquisition as well. And then
And another benefit from an employer standpoint is when you have employees moving from overseas over here, keeping their mental state sound it directly affects the productivity of their company, right? They already do physical relocations. You get a stipend. So why not financial relocation assistance? And also, we tackled the pain points. We went after the pain points of the consumers, and yeah, so that's how we built our.
I think a good focus.
Really get in on the mic.
Sorry, a good focus would be to try to see how you can help people moving to this country bring data with them to help them sort of establish a credit here that doesn't already exist. You know, whether it's loan payments that are already made, letters of recommendation from banks or other creditors, so they can sort of hit the ground running with credit rather than just educating them on how to get credit.
So yeah.
Just following up on that, just briefly, so just point of clarity, your target audience is immigrants or transferees, yeah, correct? Because right now I can see this applying to quite a few other categories as well, right? So I just, number one, I wanted to ask that, I think give a broader application, but you're targeting individuals, have you considered targeting the companies that are bringing people over, if that's a significant segment? I don't know if it is. But because, as you mentioned, relocation services are offered above certain levels. Frankly, financial relocation services are also offered in my experience. So just a couple questions for you.
So right now, currently we are targeting immigrants because we think that we'll be able to serve the needs of one specific set of the population before expanding. But we do see a potential of we're planning on increasing this to the future to more people as well. And so your second question was about, can you repeat your second question?
Targeting employers, perhaps, if that segment is substantial.
Right.
Enterprise, right.
Yeah.
So maybe I missed that if you talked about it. I apologize.
Yeah, so we are targeting individuals, but we're doing that through their employers.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a paid program, so any individual outside their employers can join. And just to address Tony's point for this, for the current MVP, we are targeting the education side, but this problem is massive. I mean, there's lack of information transfer and lack of education. These are the two heads of the dragon. Right now, we're targeting the education, owning that product, and eventually we're going to look at actual credit transfer, and that's going to require conversation with credit bureaus and so on and so forth.
So guys, it's a reasonably good idea. We've funded about 4 companies in the immigrant funding space. One of the challenges that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you face. Have you done any surveys, by the way? Any surveys for what's your response rate and how do you get what are the answers you're getting on the adoption of the product?
Right, so for the adoption of the product, we've tested with users that we know, and so we've gotten positive feedback. We haven't done mass surveys yet because we still don't have the app yet. It's mostly wireframes. But the feedback that we received was positive. We actually showed it to people who also weren't immigrants, and they thought that they could also use it. They wish they'd known it before.
So one thing is that you will not get, nobody's going to pay you $10 a month, especially immigrants who are coming on a business visa. Most of the companies have transition packages built in already. The HR department kind of tells them where to go for like Chase Bank or the First American. You go to them, you have a bank relationship. The second question I have for you is, when you put a model together, have you thought about a freemium service?
Yeah, so we're planning on starting out as a premium service, and so we're going to be using that to capture data about our users, and also we're going to be using it to see what brings the most value to their experience. So we'll be using that time to.
What is the free service that you're going to offer to graduate towards payments and paid subs? Talk about that?
So what is the free service? It's very similar to what we will offer as the premium, but you will not be able to get as many rewards because you can use some of our rewards like from the service to get actual products, and then also there will be no credit monitoring. So because we don't have credit monitoring.
Yeah, so as I said, 1 to 3% of the total customer pool are paid, but that is contingent upon getting a big customer pool. So we are going to use a freemium model in order to offer the services to consumers so that they can actually see the value in this product. But at the same time, we're also going to build these relationships with companies through webinars or seminars talking about the problem of financial relocation. And build these relationships so that when we do launch the enterprise model with value-add services, that we can integrate into their system.
One more question. All right.
I don't study immigration statistics a lot, but your growth is just linear. There's no hockey stick, right? Unless all of a sudden everyone wants to come to the U.S. I mean, everyone, right? So how does, as an investor, how does my money leverage? Where's my big payback?
So how does your money pay back? So
How can we make more money?
Yeah, how you make more money? It's a flat growth curve that's based off of the number of people coming in. And
So we're
1 to 3% of the number of immigrants coming in, at a 7% churn, and once you're established, I don't need you anymore, right? So if you succeed, you get rid of your customers. So where is the big payoff for investors?
So we have an advisor on our team, and we're gonna call him up to better answer this question. If you want to come up.
Can I come? Yeah.
Can you move to the business model? So here is the later phase part of process coming in. This business is, as you rightly said, it's not going to be a hockey stick now or ever. Right? The MVPs are going to change as we change the profile. So one of the diversification strategy here is to move towards adding value-added services to our partnering banking institutions. It goes both ways. The initial target of our offering is a person like me, but then banks are benefiting as Pranay explained, and then we diversify ourselves to start building analytical models for banks and for smaller credit unions who probably cannot afford millions or millions of dollars for assessment of risk. And this is where we are going to come into play and start getting into the small and medium bank and give them the same analytical opportunities that big banks have. And by the way, we expect that by the way we are in year 2023, we will have enough attribute-based information from our current customer base that we can build good analytical models, because the biggest issue the banks would be having is they won't be having the data. We can help them educate, and we can get some data from them. If they see benefit in us, I'm sure they're going to. You know, we get more data from them, and we can build better models.
Thank you.
MyFinStory, give them a hand.